Welcome dear students. Today we are going to explore a topic that's both vast and essential to life as we know it, magnitude of biodiversity at global and national level. The great variety of life on earth has provided for man's needs for over thousands of years. This diversity of living creatures forms a support system which has been used by each civilization for its growth and development. Those that used this bounty of nature carefully and sustainably survived. Those that overused or misused it disintegrated. Biological diversity or biodiversity is that part of nature which includes the differences in genes among the individuals of a species. The variety and richness of all the plants and animal species at different scales in space, locally, in a region, in the country and the world, and various types of ecosystems, both terrestrial and aquatic, within a defined boundary. Biological diversity deals with the degree of nature's variety in the biosphere. This variety can be observed at three levels: the genetic variability within a species, the variety of species within a community, and the organization of species in an area into distinctive plant and animal communities constitute ecosystem diversity. Let's discuss about the levels of biodiversity. Genetic diversity. Each member of any animal or plant species differs widely from other individuals in its genetic makeup because of the large number of combinations possible in the genes that gives every individual specific characteristics. Thus, for example, each human being is very different from all others. This genetic variability is essential for a healthy breeding population of a species. If the number of breeding individuals is reduced, the dissimilarity of genetic makeup is reduced and inbreeding occurs. Eventually, this can lead to the extinction of the species. The diversity in wild species forms the gene pool from which our crops and domestic animals have been developed over thousands of years. Today, the variety of nature's bounty is being further harnessed by using wild relatives of crop plants to create new varieties of more productive crops and to breed better domestic animals. Modern biotechnology manipulates genes for developing better types of medicines and a variety of industrial products. Coming to species diversity, the number of species of plants and animals that are present in a region constitutes its species diversity. This diversity is seen both in natural ecosystems and in agricultural ecosystems. Some areas are more rich in species than others. Natural, undisturbed tropical forests have a much greater species richness than plantations developed by the forest department for timber production. A natural forest ecosystem provides a large number of non-wood products that local people depend on, such as fruit, fuel, wood, fodder, fiber, gum, resin and medicines. Timber plantations do not provide the large variety of goods that are essential for local consumption. In the long term, the economic sustainable returns from non-wood forest products is said to be greater than the returns from felling a forest for its timber. Thus, the value of a natural forest with all its species richness is much greater than a plantation. Modern intensive agricultural ecosystems have a relatively lower diversity of crops than traditional agro-pastoral farming systems where multiple crops were planted. At present, conservation scientists have been able to identify and categorize about 1.8 million species on Earth. However, many new species are being identified, especially in the flowering plants and insects. Areas that are rich in species diversity are called hotspots of diversity. India is among the world's 15 nations that are exceptionally rich in species diversity. Talking about ecosystem diversity, there are a large variety of different ecosystems on Earth, which have their own complement of distinctive interlinked species based on the differences in the habitat. Ecosystem diversity can be described for a specific geographical region or a political entity such as a country, a state, or a taluka. Distinctive ecosystems include landscapes such as forests, grasslands, deserts, mountains, etc., as well as aquatic ecosystems such as rivers, lakes, and the sea. Each region also has man-modified areas such as farmland or grazing pastures. An ecosystem is referred to as natural when it is relatively undisturbed by human activities, or modified when it is changed to other types of uses such as a farmland or urban areas. Ecosystems are most natural in wilderness areas. If natural ecosystems are overused or misused, their productivity eventually decreases and they are then said to be degraded. India is exceptionally rich in its ecosystem biodiversity. Now coming to our main topic, that is biodiversity at global, national and local levels. There are at present 1.8 million species known and documented by the scientists in the world. However, scientists have estimated that the number of species of plants and animals on Earth could vary from 1.5 to 20 billion. Thus, the majority of species are yet to be discovered. Most of the world's biorich nations are in South, which are the developing nations. In contrast, the majority of the countries capable of exploiting biodiversity are northern nations. In the economically developed world, these nations, however, have low levels of biodiversity. Thus, the developed world has come to support the concept that biodiversity must be considered to be a global resource. However, if biodiversity should form a common property resource to be shared by all nations, there is no reason to exclude oil or uranium or even intellectual and technological expertise as global assets. India's sovereignty over its biological diversity cannot be compromised without a revolutionary change in world thinking about sharing of all types of natural resources. Countries with diversities higher than India are located in South America such as Brazil and Southeast Asian countries such as Malaysia and Indonesia. The species found in these countries, however, are different from our own. This makes it imperative to preserve our own biodiversity as a major economic resource. While few of the other megadiversity nations have developed the technology to exploit their species for biotechnology and genetic engineering, India is capable of doing so. Throughout the world, the value of biologically rich natural areas is now being increasingly appreciated as being of unimaginable value. International agreements such as the World Heritage Convention attempt to protect and support such areas. India is a signatory to the convention and has included several protected areas such as World Heritage Sites. These include Manas on the border between Bhutan and India, Kaziranga in Assam, Bharatpur in UP, Nanda Devi in the Himalayas, and the Sundarbans in the Ganges Delta in West Bengal. India has also signed the Convention in the Trade of Endangered Species, which is intended to reduce the utilization of endangered plants and animals. Now we will discuss India as a mega-diversity nation. Geological events in the landmass of India have provided conditions for high levels of biological diversity. A split in the single giant continent around 70 million years ago led to the formation of northern and southern continents. With India a part of Gondwana land, the southern landmass, together with Africa, Australia and the Antarctic. Later tectonic movements shifted India northward across the equator to join the northern Eurasian continent. As the intervening shallow Tethys Sea closed down, plants and animals that had evolved both in Europe and in the Far East migrated into India before the Himalayas had formed. A final influx came from Africa with Ethiopian species, which were adapted to the savannas and semi-arid regions. Thus, India's special geographical position between three distinctive centers for biological evolution and radiation of species is responsible for our rich and varied biodiversity. Among the biologically rich nations, India stands among the top 10 or 15 countries for its great variety of plants and animals, many of which are not found elsewhere. India has 350 different mammals, rated 8 highest in the world, 1200 species of birds, 8th in the world, 453 species of reptiles, 5th in the world, and 45,000 plant species, of which most are angiosperms, it's 15th in the world. These include especially high species diversity of ferns, 1022 species, and orchids, 1082 species. India has 50,000 known species of insects, including 13,000 butterflies and moths. It is estimated that the number of unknown species could be several times higher. It is estimated that 18% of Indian plants are endemic to the country and found nowhere else in the world. Among the plant species, the flowering plants have a much higher degree of endemism. A third of these are not found elsewhere in the world. Among amphibians found in India, 62% are unique to this country. Among lizards, of the 153 species recorded, 50% are endemic. High endemism has also been recorded for various groups of insects, marine worms, centipedes, mayflies, and freshwater sponges. Apart from the high biodiversity of Indian wild plants and animals, there is also a great diversity of cultivated crops and breeds of domestic livestock. This is a result of several thousand years during which civilizations have grown and flourished in the Indian subcontinent. The traditional cultivars include 30,000 to 50,000 varieties of rice and a number of cereals, vegetables, and fruit. The highest diversity of cultivars is concentrated in the high rainfall areas of the Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, Northern Himalayas, and the Northeastern Hills. Gene banks have collected over 34,000 cereals and 22,000 pulses grown in India. India has 27 indigenous breeds of cattle, 40 breeds of sheep, 22 breeds of goats, and 8 breeds of buffaloes. Now we will discuss about the hotspots of biodiversity. The Earth's biodiversity is distributed in specific ecological regions. There are over 1,000 major ecoregions in the world. Of these, 200 are said to be the richest, rarest, and most distinctive natural areas. These areas are referred to as the Global 200. It has been estimated that 50,000 endemic plants, which comprise 20% of the global plant life, probably occur in only 18 hotspots in the world. Countries which have a relatively large proportion of these hotspots of diversity are referred to as mega-diversity nations. The rate at which the extinction of species is occurring throughout our country remains obscure. It is likely to be extremely high as our wilderness areas are shrinking rapidly. Our globally accepted national hotspots are in the forests of the Northeast and the Western Ghats, which are included in the world's most biorich areas. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands are extremely rich in species, and many subspecies of different animals and birds have evolved. Among the endemic species, those species found only in India, a large proportion are concentrated in these three areas. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands alone have as many as 2200 species of flowering plants and 120 species of ferns. Out of 135 genera of land mammals in India, 63% are found in the northeast. The northeast states have 1500 endemic plant species. A major proportion of amphibian and reptile species, especially snakes, are concentrated in the Western Ghats, which is also habitat for 1500 endemic plant species. Coral reefs in the Indian waters surround the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Lakshadweep Islands, the Gulf areas of Gujarat and Tamil Nadu. They are nearly as rich in species as tropical evergreen forest. Now let's discuss about the value of biodiversity. Environmental services from species and ecosystems are essential at global, regional and local levels. Production of oxygen, reducing carbon dioxide, maintaining the water cycle, protecting soil are important services. The world now acknowledges that the loss of biodiversity contributes to global climatic change. Forests are the main mechanism for the conversion of carbon dioxide into carbon and oxygen. The loss of forest cover, coupled with the increased release of carbon dioxide and other gases through industrialization, contributes to the greenhouse effect. Global warming is melting ice caps, resulting in a rise in the sea level, which will submerge the low-lying areas in the world. It's causing major atmospheric changes, leading to increased temperatures, serious droughts in some areas, and unexpected floods in other areas. Biological diversity is also essential for preserving ecological processes such as nitrogen fixing and recycling of nutrients, soil formation, circulation, and cleaning of air and water. Global life support. Plants absorb carbon dioxide and give out oxygen, maintaining the water balance within ecosystems. Watershed protection, maintaining streams and river flows throughout the year. Erosion control and local flood reduction. Food, clothing, housing, energy, medicines are all resources that are directly or indirectly linked to the biological variety present in the biosphere. This is the most obvious in the tribal communities who gather resources from the forest, or fisher folk who catch fish in the marine or freshwater ecosystems. For others, such as agricultural communities, biodiversity is used to grow their crops to suit the environment. Urban communities generally use the greatest amount of goods and services, which are all indirectly drawn from natural ecosystems. It has become obvious that the preservation of biological resources is essential for the well-being and the long-term survival of mankind. This diversity of living organisms, which is present in the wilderness as well as in our crops and livestock, plays a major role in human development. The preservation of biodiversity is therefore integral to any strategy that aims at improving the quality of human life. Consumptive use value. The direct utilization of timber, food, fuel wood, fodder by local communities. The biodiversity held in the ecosystem provides forest dwellers with all their daily needs: food, building material, fodder, medicines, and a variety of other products. They know the qualities and different uses of wood from different species of trees and collect a large number of local fruits, roots, and plant material that they use as food, construction material, or medicines. Fisher folk are highly dependent on fish and know where and how to catch fish and other edible aquatic animals and plants. The biotechnologists use biorich areas to prospect and search for potential genetic properties in plants or animals that can be used to develop better varieties of crops that are used in farming and plantation programs or to develop better livestock. To the pharmacist, biological diversity is the raw material from which new drugs can be identified from plant or animal products. To industrialists, biodiversity is a rich storehouse from which to develop new products. For the agricultural scientist, the biodiversity in the wild relatives of crop plants is the basis for developing better crops. Genetic diversity enables scientists and farmers to develop better crops and domestic animals through careful breeding. Originally, this was done by selecting or pollinating crops artificially to get a more productive or disease-resistant strain. Today, this is increasingly being done by genetic engineering, selecting genes from one plant and introducing them into another. New crop varieties or cultivars are being developed using the genetic material found in wild relatives of crop plants through biotechnology. Even today, species of plants and animals are being constantly discovered in the wild. Thus, these wild species are the building blocks for the betterment of human life, and their loss is a great economic loss to the mankind. Among the known species, only a tiny fraction have been investigated for their value in terms of food or their medicinal or industrial potential. Now, let's discuss about the threats to biodiversity like habitat loss, poaching of wildlife, and man and wildlife conflicts. Man has begun to overuse or misuse most of these natural ecosystems. Due to this unsustainable resource use, once productive forests and grasslands have been turned into deserts and wastelands, have increased all over the world. Mangroves have been cleared for fuel wood and prawn farming, which has led to a decrease in the habitat essential for breeding of marine fish. Wetlands have been drained to increase agricultural land. These changes have grave economic implications in the longer term. The current destruction of the remaining large areas of wilderness habitats, especially in the super diverse tropical forests and coral reefs, is the most important threat worldwide to biodiversity. Scientists have estimated that human activities are likely to eliminate approximately 10 million species by the year 2050. In India, forests and grasslands are continuously being changed to agricultural land. Encroachments have been legalized repeatedly. Similarly, natural wetland systems have been drained to establish croplands, resulting in loss of aquatic species. Grasslands that were once sustainably used by a relatively smaller number of human beings and their cattle are either changed to other forms of use or degraded by overgrazing. Our natural forests are being deforested for timber and replanted using teak, sal, or other single species for their timber value. Such plantations do not support the same biological diversity as a multi-storied natural forest, which has a closed canopy and a rich understory of vegetation. When excessive firewood is collected from the forest by lopping the branches of trees, the forest canopy is opened up, and this alters local biodiversity. Foraging cattle retards the regeneration of the forest as seedlings are constantly trampled. Increasing human population on the fringes of our protected areas degrade forest ecosystems. This is a major factor to consider in evaluating the quality of the ecosystem. Repeated fires started by local grazers to increase grass growth ultimately reduces regeneration and lowers the diversity of plant species. Without alternate sources of fodder, this pressure cannot be decreased. Another factor that disrupts forest biodiversity is the introduction of exotic weeds, which are not a part of the natural vegetation. Common examples in India are lantana bush, eupatorium shrubs, and congress grass. These have been imported into the country from abroad and have invaded several large tracts of our natural forests. These weeds spread at the expense of the diverse range of indigenous undergrowth species. The impact on the diversity of insect, birds, and other wildlife species, though not adequately studied, is quite obvious. In our country, a variety of traditional farming techniques have evolved over several centuries. Cultivation by slash and burn in the Himalayas and rub by lopping of tree branches to act as a wood ash fertilizer in the Western Ghats are two such systems. When human population in these areas was low, there were sustainable methods of agriculture. Unfortunately, these areas now have a large number of people who subsist largely on forest agriculture. These methods are now unsustainable and are leading to a loss of forest biodiversity. So, in conclusion, biodiversity is not only we should be studying of, but something that needs to be protected. That was all for today. I hope you found this lecture interesting and engaging. Thanks a lot.